Ahead on First at 5, a push to land the Jacksonville Jaguars. We look at the two final cities' plans to try and woo the team to their areas and what it could mean for local businesses.
It's heating up. I'm tracking rising temperatures and rainier conditions ahead for the weekend.
First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Ben Hill Griffin Stadium could be the home to more than just the Florida Gators if city and county leaders have their way. The Jacksonville Jaguars are looking for a temporary field for the next few seasons while their stadium gets a facelift. But it's not that easy, as Camping World Stadium in Orlando also wants to play host to the Jags for the next few seasons. Both these two cities are fighting for what would be a major boost to their respective economies, as hosting NFL games brings in big business. Welcome to First at 5. I'm Juan Chaoui.
And I'm Charlize Ramos. We're expecting to learn any day now what city the Jags will pick as their temporary home, but we learned that Orlando is rolling out the red carpet for the team. WFT's Alexis Vivanco is live in front of Ben Hill Griffin. Alexis, you've been working all day to learn what plans Gainesville has and how they compare to the City Beautiful.
JC and Charlize, Gainesville citizens are hopeful, but still some are skeptical because of Orlando's major appeal. I mean, check it. They're next to a major city, right next to Disney World, and have a stadium that some say scream Duval. But that doesn't mean to say that Gainesville doesn't have a few offerings of its own. In the Swamp, you'll find the Swamp, a restaurant that serves local delights on game days and nights. Owner Ryan Prodesky is rooting for the Jags to call the 352 home.
Yeah, I think it'd be an amazing shot in the arm to the local economy. I think every business, local small business in Gainesville would benefit.
Football in Gainesville is more than just tradition, it's a way of life.
Yeah, I mean, we spend all week getting ready for one day. There's a lot of preparation and a lot of planning that goes into executing, football weekend.
What Ryan enjoys most about those weeks is the boost to the economy. He says that if the Jags come to G&V, everyone wins.
Yeah, I think it puts it adds another feather of legitimacy into the cap of Gainesville to showcase the city and be able to show what we have to offer here and the local businesses and everything that makes this city amazing and great.
At the end of February, Jaguars president Mark Lamping said a decision would be made before Jaguars summer training camp, which starts in July. We reached out to the city, visit Gainesville and the Greater Gainesville Chamber of Commerce just to get a feel on if Gainesville will be presenting a proposal when a city manager reached out to us and told us they had no knowledge of any sort of specific incentives, but still say negotiations are ongoing. Live from the Swamp, Alexis Vivanco, WFT News.
Right now, an 11-year-old Gainesville child is facing attempted carjacking charges. Alachua County deputies say he tried to steal keys on 2 different occasions Tuesday. We're not naming the suspect due to his age, but deputies say just after 3 p.m. in the Meadowbrook neighborhood, the child pointed a gun at the victim and demanded their keys. And about an hour later, they say he attempted a second unsuccessful robbery in the Hills of Santa Fe neighborhood. Investigators found him at a home where they say they recovered the weapon used and determined it was a novelty lighter.
The heat has been turned on in north central Florida as the UF weather team is forecasting temperatures well into the 80s this week. Your forecaster Matthew Clark is live in the weather studio tracking the significant warm up and if colder temperatures are gone for good.
Well, there's a cold front over us right now, and you'd think colder temperatures are going to kind of come back, but this really isn't a cold front. Notice how there is not even a single cloud in the sky overlooking that satellite. It's more of a dry front. The only difference is we're feeling a little bit drier. We're also getting some nice winds from the north, 12 miles per hour here in Gainesville, 20 miles per hour in Perry. So we're getting a little bit of a slight breeze from the north, cooling us down ever so slightly in terms of moisture. However, not a cold front. Those temperatures, 87 degrees here in Gainesville. It is warm this afternoon. Temperatures aren't going to drop too much as we head into the overnight hours, only into the mid 50s. We're going to be waking up though in the lower 50s, so it's going to be a little bit cooler tomorrow morning, but we're still heating up as we head into the week, and we could have some weekend showers. I'll have more on that in a few minutes.
Thanks, Matthew. Governor Ron DeSantis has promised that property tax relief will be on the 2026 ballot. He made the announcement during a news conference in Palm Bay Tuesday. The governor explained that people need relief, saying a $250,000 home 10 years ago is now worth more than $800,000 today, and that raises your taxes, which he says is unfair. The measure will have some hurdles to pass and support from the state legislature to make it to the next year's ballot. Efforts to loosen child labor laws in Florida are advancing in the state legislature as well. If passed, it will allow teenagers to work more than 8 hours daily and over 30 hours a week while also being in school. The Florida Policy Institute said they estimate the bill could impact more than 100,000 teens. Those who oppose the bill say it could affect their learning and encourage child exploitation.
Neighbors in Marion County who need help getting their license back can head to the courthouse starting next week. The Marion County Clerk of Court's office hosts its annual Operation Greenlight event starting next Monday. Court officials helped 256 residents to be re-eligible for a driver's license last year. To get your license back, you can pay overdue court obligations like traffic tickets in full. In doing this, you save that 25% in additional fees. You can pay in person, online, or by phone. And local families in need of help with groceries can stop by Farm Share's food distribution later this week. The nonprofit is holding its next food drive in Gainesville Friday. It's on Northwest 6th Street and begins at 9 a.m. until the food runs out. Attendees must arrive in a vehicle with a trunk or cargo bed.
Zero Waste Week is in full swing, and Zero Waste Gainesville has given the opportunity to get greener through workshops and events. Tomorrow will be Beginner's Gardening Workshop. Zero Waste Gainesville aims to teach you how to tend the soil and fertilize your growing produce. This comes at a time when consumer confidence is at an all-time low, according to CNN, since 2021. With rising grocery prices, the workshop gives you the chance to learn how to grow your own groceries. Field and Fork Farm Manager Noah Long emphasizes this sentiment.
If you get it going where you're actually growing a lot of food, you save a ton of money. I mean, me working here, the interns that work here, we get to take the food home. Our grocery bills are halved.
Head over to the Gainesville Giving Garden on Northwest 12th Avenue to learn how to nurture your spring garden. The gardening workshop will take place at 6 p.m. tomorrow. No registration needed.
This month was Florida Biking Month, and to wrap it up, one Gainesville City Commissioner is hosting an e-bike test event. Riders will have the chance to try different types of bikes provided by the Gainesville Electric Bike Garage. Commissioner Brian Eastman says he's hosting this as an effort to make getting around the city more sustainable and fun. If you want to try out an e-bike yourself, the event is happening Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. at the 6th Street Rail Trail.
Ahead when First at 5 returns, a second day of grilling on Capitol Hill after the text chain security breach. The new move by the journalist in question to fight back against being called a liar by Trump administration officials.
And a deadly bridge collapse 1 year later. The lessons learned from the deadly disaster and the other bridges that may be just as vulnerable. We're back after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Members of President Trump's intelligence community face a second day of intense questioning from members of Congress. It's stemming from those who took part in a group text that revealed sensitive U.S. military strike plans to a journalist. And as Julie Sirkin reports, that journalist has now released the entire thread as calls for resignations are intensifying.
After repeatedly saying there was no classified information on the Signal text thread where specific plans for a U.S. attack in Yemen were discussed.
There was no classified information, as I understand it.
Nobody's texting war plans.
There was no intelligence information.
The Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, the journalist added to the chat by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, released a transcript of the text messages that showed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth detailing military plans. In one text, Hegseth gives a timeline of the attack and details which fighter jets would be used. The Pentagon's own definition of what is classified includes disclosure of significant military plans or intelligence operations. Goldberg said after the administration's denials, it was time to let the public see the text for themselves.
What are they arguing, that an attack is different than a war? They put operational details of a forthcoming attack on a terrorist organization into Signal, into a Signal chat that included phone numbers that they didn't recognize.
Two top national security officials, who were also on the text thread, in the hot seat for a second day on Capitol Hill, maintaining nothing classified was shared.
The conversation was candid and sensitive, but as the President National Security Advisor stated, no classified information was shared.
Democrats demanding answers and firings.
No acceptance of responsibility. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly transmitted classified, sensitive operational information via this chain, must resign immediately.
Republicans now weighing in. Congressman Don Bacon telling NBC News, quote, "The White House is in denial that this was not classified or sensitive data. They should just own up to it and preserve credibility." And this afternoon, Senator Roger Wicker, the chair of the Armed Services Committee, saying the information was so sensitive,
I would have wanted it classified.
And he and Democrat Jack Reed are asking the Trump administration to expedite an Inspector General report into the controversial group chat.
In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
1 year ago, Baltimore's iconic Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after a large cargo ship struck one of its pillars. The crash killed 6 construction workers working on the bridge. The National Transportation Safety Board is working on its final report, and investigators recently said that Maryland Transportation Authority never evaluated the bridge's risk for collision or collapse. But based on guidance from the American Association of State Highway and Transportation officials, the bridge was above their acceptable level of risk.
We came to pay homage to the ones who paid the ultimate price of their lives on that fateful day.
The bridge was almost 30 times greater than the risk threshold, 30 times greater.
The agency also identified 68 other U.S. bridges spanning waterways frequented by cargo ships that, like the Key Bridge, were built before 1991 and do not have current vulnerability assessment.
Drier conditions are expected throughout the rest of the week, but thunderstorms could be possible this weekend. I am timing out these storms for you after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Like we mentioned earlier in the show, and if you've been outside today, you can really see that it's starting to heat up.
That's right, Charlize. For all of you trying to get your tan on, the UV keeps getting better every day. Your forecaster, Matthew Clark, can you tell us a bit about what we're going to be seeing, especially if this UV is going to be getting even better?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going outside, make sure you wear your sunscreen if you're going to tan. But, I mean, overlooking that campus cam, there really isn't even a cloud in sight right now. That sun is out, and it is bright up in that sky right now. Look at those blue skies. Barely any clouds overlooking that campus cam. It is just a gorgeous afternoon out there. It's also very dry outside. You know, we're going to be looking at those relative humidity values, and summertime values here are in the 70% and 80%. So now we're in the 20%. Look at that, 24% relative humidity here in Gainesville, 17% in Live Oak, and 19% over in Perry. So it is dry. On top of the dry conditions, it's also very windy. So wildfire conditions could be higher today. 13-mile-per-hour wind gusts here, 22 over in Cedar Key, and that is all a part of this cold front. And I say cold front as if it's cold outside. It's not cold outside, it's just drier, and the winds are now coming from the north. Usually when you see a cold front, you see those temperatures dropping. It is 87 degrees here in Gainesville today, which is 10 degrees warmer than our average this time for today. And right now, temperatures across our area still 87 degrees, still got that high temperature here in Gainesville, 86 down in Ocala. It is warm. So even though there's a cold front, it's just going to be kind of drying us out for the next couple of days. Heading into that hour by hour though, those temperatures aren't going to drop too much. We're going to be dropping into the upper to mid 50s and waking up into the lower 50s with some patchy fog possible on your way to work in eastern Marion County. Not too much fog though, a couple patchy fogs here in Gainesville. Muggy meter, here's those dew point values, measure moisture in that atmosphere. Look at that, we're in those pleasant days, which it's a much needed relief compared to Florida, because Florida, it gets pretty muggy. But then on Saturday and Sunday, that dew point starts to increase, and that's because this line of thunderstorms is going to start to move its way into our area Saturday night into Sunday afternoon, bringing in some strong southerly winds. So that dew point is going to increase as you head into Saturday. Sunday though, outside may not be the nicest day. Look at that line of thunderstorms late Sunday night. Then another line of thunderstorms follows it into our area late Monday night. So Sunday and Monday, we could be seeing some rain and some rainfall totals. Here's our rainfall totals as we head throughout Sunday and Monday. Could be getting over half an inch here in Gainesville and 1 inch in some parts. Bronson, Lake City, and Ocala all over 1 inch. Now we're looking at our car wash forecast. Today and Thursday is good. It's also pollen season, so if you're trying to get that car wash, today and Thursday are going to be good. But Friday, watch out, because we could see some rain on Sunday. So your car won't be clean for that much, but look at those temperatures across the board. 80s and then 89 potentially next Wednesday.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Hannah Mack. Florida men's hoops are soaking up the sun on the West Coast as they prepare for Maryland. Shelby, Hotz, and Ethan Ibe are in the city by the bay with the keys to win for the Gators.
That's right. Here in San Francisco, the Gators are preparing for their next steps in the big dance. The Gators get the Terrapins, and I'm here with Ethan Ibe, play-by-play broadcaster on the Orange and Blue Sports Network and fellow WUFT sports anchor. Ethan, what can the Gators expect going into this matchup with Maryland?
Yeah, this should be a difficult matchup for the Gators. Maryland's, they're not a team you want to mess around with too much. They have a solid front court. Derek Queen, Julian Reese, they've been on fire the last couple of games, but these Gators are coming off a season-defining win against UConn, taking down the two-time defending national champions, and Walter Clayton Jr. was a big reason why.
You mentioned Walter Clayton Jr., and over 50% of the points made up in this tournament have been from transfers. How is Walter Clayton Jr. going to absolutely shine on the court tomorrow?
Well, if he can keep hitting the three ball, I expect some good things from Florida. Elijah Martin, also a great guy to watch as a transfer, brings Final Four experience to this Florida squad as they look for their first Final Four berth since 2017, Shelby.
That's amazing, Ethan. Thank you so much. We are going to be covering the Gators here all weekend, and we'll have a game preview on WUFT tomorrow. For WUFT Sports, I'm Shelby Hotz.
Speaking of rain, there are dark clouds over the Gator baseball team these days. Kevin O'Sullivan's team fell to Florida State last night in a tough one on the road. Gators took the lead at the top of the ninth thanks to a center field shot from Hayden Yost, but it was all Knowles in the bottom of the inning. Alexis secured the win with the walk-off grand slam after Florida ran into pitching troubles. The Gators are back on the diamond tomorrow for a 3-game series against Ole Miss, where they will look for their first conference win. Florida has now lost 7 of their last 9 games. On the high school mound, a handful of teams face off tonight. Buchholz is still undefeated with the 16-0 record. Bobcats host North Marion at 6 p.m. Newberry will travel to Suwanee, and Gainesville will head to Alachua for a date with the Santa Fe Raiders. First pitch for both games is scheduled for 7 p.m. Florida football is ready for a busy day tomorrow. Gator Pro Day is here with a handful of Gators showing off their talents. Included is Elijah Badger. Wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez says Badger has pro-level toughness.
He's deceptively fast. You know, he's a 4.4 guy, and he's got great lateral movement. Super tough. There's a couple games where there was a game I remember he got rolled up, I think the first or second play of the game, and just came over, got it taped up, doesn't say anything, just kept working. I mean, you can coach him hard and he's going to go. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He can just go.
17 other Gators are participating, including Chimere DK, Jeremy Crawshaw, and Graham Mertz. Pro Day will not be open to the public, but will have all the coverage you need right here on First at 5. More football excitement is in the air with the orange and blue game right around the corner. Kickoff for that is set for 1 p.m. on April 12th. Ending on a happy note, Florida lacrosse improved to 8-2 on the year with the win over the University of Pennsylvania. Gianna Monaco scored the game winner in overtime to seal it, 13-12. We'll be right back with a final look on the weather. Stick with us.
Although we're in the 80s, it's feeling a little bit drier outside. Still pretty warm though, since we're already in the 80s. We're going to gradually warm up as we head through this weekend. It's going to be a nice Thursday and a really nice Friday. It's going to be a little overcast on Saturday before some lines of thunderstorms move through our area on Sunday into Sunday night, and then we could have some showers on Monday as well. But we're still going to be enjoying the nice weather outside on Thursday and Friday. It's pretty good baseball weather, I would say.
Yeah, one of the only positives about the baseball team right now.
I know, at least we have the good weather for Thursday and Friday. Thank you so much, Matthew. And thank you all for joining us at home. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all of our social media platforms. Have a great night.